Hello, everybody. This is Bob from Apprenda. We're starting the SIG Windows community meetup for this week. We've got a couple updates. Michael's not here today, but he did let me know that the SIG Windows blog post, the Kubernetes blog post, did get posted. And I will send out the link to the channel. It's just on kubernetes.io, blog.kubernetes.io. He's doing a demo right now to go along with that blog post. So I guess from here, I guess, Patrick, if you want to take it away with what you have.
Find the mute button. Okay. Yeah, so this is Patrick here at Microsoft. And one of the things that I've been looking at was trying to find a way that we could better coordinate and track what type of work in the Kubernetes project was effectively ready to be designed and coded, and what type of work would need changes to Windows itself before it would really be feasible. So what I did was I went through the lists that we had from Michael that were already over in the Google Docs. It's in the same place as the meeting notes. And I also went through a list that I built with the folks over here at Microsoft. And I basically tried to put all of that together into a Trello board. And that's the second link that I have there. And let me see if I can actually go ahead and share that, just because it might be easier for me to point people to it. Okay, so I've got that shared out now. One of the things that I was trying to do was basically be able to track some of the higher level features that were there. Some of this stuff might, end up with multiple pull requests. So like one example here for this, like being able to pass container resources through CRI. If we go and look at it, since this one involves an API change, we actually need to get something accepted in order to get it into the Kubernetes 1.10 release as a design proposal first. This is something that we would need to discuss here in the working group and then take over to SIG Node for approval before they would consider this API change for the next release. And so when I'm working in GitHub, it's nice to be able to track an issue and understand that it's there, but I don't have any of the tags available that let me effectively say what the priority would be within the Windows SIG, or which Windows releases would actually be compatible with this change. And so like this is an example of one that we can do with the current releases of Windows that are out there today. But one of the things that we're planning on doing to be able to support Hyper-V isolation, where we've actually have multiple containers in a pod, like what's there in the current version of Windows Server 1709. Although we have multiple containers per pod, that still uses a shared kernel between them. And that's not something that we believe is necessarily the best way to go long term. If you've been tracking the news the last week, that's yet another example of why having a shared kernel between with only user mode separation can lead to security problems down the road. And so, we're working on the design within Windows to be able to do this. But the thing I want to be able to communicate to the community is that, this is an item that we'd want to put on the roadmap, but it's not ready to be coded because it's going to depend on changes in Windows itself. So I was trying to get prioritization that we could discuss within this working group, as well as be able to get the context of what's in there in terms of Windows releases, and make it easier to facilitate what we want to set as the goals for each release within the SIG. And so personally, I like using, Kanban style stuff for this type of planning, for prioritization exercises as opposed to GitHub. Um, so I want to know if anyone else thought this was useful and kind of get some feedback before we decide, where we want to be tracking this type of stuff. So do anyone have any thoughts there?
I think this is pretty cool. I mean, it picks up, it fills in some of the gaps that are there when just using GitHub. So I like that about it.
Yeah, I'll chime in too. I mean, I think that having the Trello board for this makes it 10 times easier to understand what's going on and what's still pending and how things fit together.
Okay. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to go for with this. It doesn't mean we don't need issues tracked in GitHub as well. The way I propose to do that, actually, that's not a good one. Let me go over here and look at the flex volume one. The way I proposed to do that was to basically put all the issues or PRs that were needed there as a checklist. So that way we could sort of, track what was done. So like once this issue is fixed, we could just check it off and track it that way. So it does have the good links out to other places. Ooh, is this actually fixed? Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, sorry, I wasn't sharing that. But if we look at like the one that says flex volume for Windows bug fixes, like that's an example where I've got the GitHub stuff linked in. So I took I made a first attempt to get everything that was on the other lists here. This board is actually public. So what I'll do is go on the Slack channel and start a thread there. Just basically ask people to PM me what email address they have associated with Trello, so I can add people to it. Because right now I can't assign. There's no way that someone can assign an item to themselves unless they're a member of the board, but anybody can look at it. So I'll add people, and we can sort of go from there. The other thing that I wanted to use this for was when we had a discussion with SIG Node, if they wanted to just sort of understand what Windows work was coming up in the future. That was where I thought this might be helpful for them to try to, because I don't think the SIG Node group is going to care as much about this backlog as they are what they think we want to do over the next couple releases. And so my hope was that it would make that discussion easier. Has anybody worked with them before?
I guess not.
Okay. I was hoping that maybe Dinesh or Peter had spent some time there, because I haven't joined those meetings yet. But
Michael might know some people from Signode. I'm not sure.
okay, yeah, no problem. So that's sort of what I had in terms of organization. As far as the priorities go, I mean, the main things that I'm aware of that people are working on at Microsoft are, we're working on supporting the Hyper-V isolation with the current release of Windows. There's a few bug fixes that are needed there, and so I'm hoping to be able to share more details with that, because that's part also tracked in. Sorry, there's another link I posted to Jiang Tian's proposal. So I'll have him talk about that next. But that's going to cover the container resources and the Hyper-V isolation. And those are things we basically need to get at parity with what the Docker Swarm scheduler can do on Windows already. And then Dinesh's team has PRs in flight to finish supporting the CNI plugins, and then the work for Flannel and Calico. And then the last thing that I'm trying to get done for either 1.10 or maybe it's early 1.11, I'm still having some discussions trying to see if I can get more people on board to actually start porting tests over and solving that gap. So that's a discussion I'm having here with some people inside and outside of Microsoft, but I'm basically trying to get a specific, my goal is to get a few specific people assigned to sort of drive this effort on behalf of the community. But I don't have any, I'm not ready to talk in detail about it yet. I'm basically in some negotiations right now, trying to see if I can get people behind that. Because I'd really like to see more people that have some Windows experience working on that, so that we were growing the community rather than just working. Yeah, we're only going to succeed if we grow. So, did you want to talk more about the resource or Hyper-V isolation stuff at Gentian, or did you have anything you wanted to go into next, Bob?
Sure, I can briefly talk about in the high level. So this is a ongoing task that I am working with Pengfei, who is in Shanghai, and ACI, the Azure Container Instance team, to support use of Hyper-V containers in i3 Windows. Basically, the Windows i3 has support Hyper-V container features in Docker runtime with a very simple isolation switch. It's not leveraged in the Kubernetes and Kubernetes runtime. So basically, this feature work is to similar to the Docker shim, which is hooked up with the Kubernetes CLI. We use another runtime similar to Docker shim, where it used to create Hyper-V containers instead of process containers. So the Kubernetes use the CLI instead of talk to different different container runtime. It talks a new runtime called Hyper-V runtime. We call it Hyper-V shim, where it is used to create Hyper-V containers on Windows. So that's basically the idea. This relies on the Hyper-V container features on Windows i3. This is one of the ongoing work that I'm with the I'm working on as part of these node features. Another SIG node, another work items related to SIG node is the as I working on this Hyper-V container runtime is the window resource configuration. This is actually a missing feature in for the Windows container in pair with the Linux container. Essentially, basically, currently the Kubernetes CLI only support the resource configuration and security context configuration for Linux containers. And in the CLI, it does not have the configuration for Windows container. And Windows container have different configurations compared to the Linux configuration in terms of CPU quota, CPU period, the memory, as well as the network I/O. Therefore, to fill in this gap, Patrick, can you show the second work item on the shadow board?
Sure, let me pull it up real quick. Able to see that now?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I actually submit a PR of design proposal to the SIG node community, propose filling this gap of window container configurations in CRI. So what this would enable is when schedule containers with resource limit and request, now the container runtime would respect those requests, would be able to respect those requests and limit, and take those information from the CRI and apply to the, for example, the Docker runtime. So this feature, as Patrick has said, is related to the SIG node, also, but it's for Windows container. So we plan to present this to the SIG node meeting. The SIG node meeting, I recently attended a few SIG node meetings, and they have agenda layout for the next few weeks. We could, if we have agreement of this feature, if we think this feature is necessary and would benefit the Windows container in SIG Windows, in the SIG node window community, we could get this proposal present to SIG node meeting and get the work kicked off. As a prototype, Pengfei from Shanghai team has already started a prototype of the what the interface need to be added in the CI for Windows, and there are also other features like secure context we are working on. So if you have any feature request or any scenario think would be necessary would be beneficial, just let us know, and we can add to this design proposal. And we can add to this work. So that's basically the two work items related to the SIG node Kubernetes that I'm working with different people on that, and it's related to Windows container. Yeah, so for this meeting, for the purpose of this meeting, I just want to get opinions from you, see what's missing, what's would be what's needed to be added. Yeah. Okay, I guess that yeah, then that's from my side.
Very cool. Thanks, Jangshan. Does anybody else have any updates they want to share? No. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I guess the next meeting is 2 weeks from now, and we'll see you then.
All right, thanks everyone.